In the headlines, President Muhammadu Buhari orders circulation of old 200 naira notes till April 10th. Residents in Katsina bandits-infested communities express uncertainties for forthcoming elections. PDP governorship candidate absent as political parties sign peace accord in Gombe. And on the foreign scene, Indonesia military court sentences 4 soldiers over Papua killings. Hello and welcome to Trans TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. We begin with the President's address, where he has directed the Central Bank of Nigeria to release old 200 naira notes into circulation to coexist with the new 200, 500 and 1,000 naira banknotes for 60 days. The President announced this in the national broadcast on Thursday morning. The President sympathized with Nigerians over the hardship experienced because of the naira redesign policy. He, however, said it was put in place to check money laundering, terrorism and other vices that could hamper the economy. He said the redesign process followed due process.
To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknotes be released back into circulation, and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira and 1,000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira note ceases to be legal tender. In line with Section 20, subsection 3 of the CBN Act 2007, all existing old 1,000 naira and 500 naira notes remain redeemable at CBN and designated points. Let me assure Nigerians that our administration will continue to assess the implementation with a view to ensuring that Nigerians are not unnecessarily burdened. In this regard, the CBN shall ensure that new notes become more available and accessible to our citizens through the banks. I wish to once more appeal for your understanding till we overcome this difficult transient phase within the shortest possible time.
Earlier, we spoke to Al-Zubair Abubakar, Esquire, a legal practitioner, who sheds more light on the President's directive as it relates to the Supreme Court order.
What happened yesterday at the Supreme Court is that when the matter was adjourned, it was adjourned so that the issues raised in that case could be heard. Unfortunately, 2 issues tell it. One, the Attorney General of the Federation had already filed papers objecting to the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Then 2, some various state governments had joined the suit. 2 of them as applicants, the others wanted to be joined as respondents, and each of them has its own grievances. So based on that, the Supreme Court adjourned the matter to the 22nd day of this month, so that once the matters are consolidated, they can be heard together. When the Supreme Court adjourned, one of the parties raised the issue as to the timeline granted by the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court was clear when it made the statement that there was no need to elongate because the order was still subsisting. As a matter of fact, the order is still subsisting because the order has not been vacated by the Supreme Court. Then suddenly, President Muhammadu Buhari made a statement that amongst the new currency, only 20 naira, only 200 naira will now be valid for use by Nigerians, excepting the 500 and the 1,000 naira notes. This statement he made is in total contradiction of the separation of powers granted under Nigerian Constitution. Secondly, he is president because he was constitutionally recognized and he was sworn by the oath contained in the Constitution of Nigeria. So he is subject to the Nigerian Constitution and to the laws. Thirdly, as president, he is supposed to be loyal to whatever any of the other arms of government will say in respect of his conduct as president. But President Muhammadu Buhari was reckless. He made the statement that this is what the federal government will do against the order of the court. In terms of supremacy, once there's an issue which pertains to the interpretation of the law or the constitution, it is vested in the judiciary. And once the judiciary has made that interpretation or in the interim has made any order, none of the other arms of government should be able to contravene it. My own view is that President Muhammadu Buhari has contravened the position of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. And I think because of his immunity, the Supreme Court should go against the Attorney General of the Federation and cite him for contempt and ask the question why they should not be cited or taken to prison for contempt because of the flouting of that order by the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
Meanwhile, residents of Maiduguri have lamented the conflicting directives from the CBN and the Supreme Court on the use of the old Naira notes. They complained that the cashless policy has caused more hardship as they are unable to access money from banks for their daily activities around the metropolis. The residents who had expected a clear-cut directive after the court's sitting on Wednesday were disappointed with the adjournment and called on the CBN to recirculate the old notes and distribute the redesigned Naira notes across banks.
Everyone is confused with what is happening. They are not helping the situation. I was having 5,000 Naira old notes. I spent it because of what is going on, and now I don't have any money. And the worst thing is that there is no place to get cash. The government should listen to the Supreme Court to end this suffering.
Only what we can demand from government, we need network. Much network from each bank, so anybody that wants to transact, let him transact the money sharply at least.
Honestly, this is not the time to be playing with us. We can't go anywhere because of lack of cash. With the old notes no more being in circulation, then where are the new notes? We have been spending nights at the ATM and still no cash. The banks don't have money. This is not progress at all.
And protests erupted in no fewer than 4 states on Wednesday as the Supreme Court adjourned ruling in the suit filed by some state governments against the February 10th deadline for the use of the old notes. Nigerians who expected a definite position from the court were disappointed with the adjournment, which left them to cope with the pains of surviving with no new notes and rejection of old notes by vendors. Angered by the decision and the silence from the presidency, some youth took to the streets to vent their anger. The report.
In Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, the protesters burnt tires across major roads of the ancient city, barricaded major routes, and disrupted economic activities across the state. Some of them urged the central government to urgently address the situation before things get out of hand.
Price of goods has increased. Then we also have fuel scarcity. This is enough to incite Nigerians to come on street to send this administration back home, because this is not what they promised Nigerians in 2014 when they are coming.
For now, you understand the governor is on his campaign tour, and is someone who is very concerned about the welfare of the people. And I believe very strongly the governor is going to address the situation to the best of his capacity.
In Delta State, angry youth set 2 commercial banks' ATMs on fire, vandalized campaign materials, and vowed that elections will not hold until the crisis is addressed. The police later mounted roadblocks around the area to stop the protesters from burning any government property. Meanwhile, The state governor and vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Ifeanyi Okowa, has appealed to citizens of the state and Nigerians to remain calm amidst the scarcity of the new Naira notes. Okowa, in a statement by the State Commissioner for Information, Charles Anyago, in Asaba, called on the Central Bank of Nigeria and the monetary authorities to take further steps in increasing the money supply in the system. The Naira note scarcity protest also rocked Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, as protesters barricaded and made bonfires on some major streets such as Gambari, Ogidi, Oko-Olowo, among others. The angry protesters said the scarcity of Naira has brought untold hardship to them, as they have been unable to carry out any business transaction.
Filling station, they didn't collect the old money from us, and the bank too, they didn't collect anything from us. So we are a driver, we are driving a motor, but we don't have option to go to anywhere, because when we go to filling station now, they will not accept the money from us. So everybody are facing.
In Edo State, no fewer than 3 persons lost their lives during the violent protest that erupted on Wednesday morning in parts of Benin City. The protesters attempted to break into the state branch of Central Bank of Nigeria, located along Akpakpava Street, a commercial nerve center in Benin City, where most commercial banks are also located. Thereafter attacked some commercial banks located in the area.
Meanwhile, residents of Kaduna have expressed displeasure with the ongoing cash deposit process at the Central Bank of Nigeria branch in the state, as most customers were unable to deposit or swap their old notes. The customer said the money swap process was frustrating as the bank took details of the customers and not the money. Bello Musa reports.
In order to meet up with the deadline of the All Naira note, customers in numbers trooped to the Apex Bank to deposit their All Naira note. However, the customers said the bank officials were only taking details about them rather than the money for deposit.
I am here in the CBN. What they just told us to do, they say we should write our name, our phone number, and the bank. Then we will now sign. Then we will now be going. Then it's the next day that they are going to call us.
Because I came around 7 o'clock this morning, and the people that they came since yesterday, we are still together with them, and they are yet to deposit their money.
On the other hand, some traders and buyers in Kaduna market do not accept the All Naira note due to fear of losing their money after the deadline, thereby affecting business activities in the state.
We as a marketer, we are finding it so difficult. Somebody come to buy my shoe now, he has owed money and I can't collect, because if I collect it, it will remain in my hand. So automatically, and the transfer service is not going. Like this yesterday, they sent me text message about my school, my children. They said they don't receive cash and I have owed money. If I take to the bank, they won't give me new one. If you want to request it for 20, they only give you 5,000. So 5,000, what will you do with 5,000? A family man.
My brother, they don't give you collect them for my hand. Since the money why Kasakaya nobody. They don't come, they don't care new money. All of them are old money they carry. And me man know they collect. Where I go by, they don't give you collect them for my hand.
I'm about to buy something. I came with old money, but they refuse to receive the old money. Everybody is talking about new money, and the cash is not there. So I don't know what to do.
It's not moving at all. It has stopped. All we just do is that when customers come and buy something from our neighbor's shop, we went there and make withdraw and transfer to the owner of the shop.
They therefore call on the government and the CBN to look at the plight of Nigerians and come up with an amicable solution. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
And away from the Naira design policy, many Katsina communities are under constant attacks from bandits. From Gangara in Jibia to Damari and Mweboko in Sabwa and Ndumi local government areas, most communities are now bandit strongholds. In view of the raging banditry, there are questions whether or not elections will hold in these communities. Abdullahi Ahmadi asks residents of Jibia, Batsari, Safana and Sabwa local government areas how they intend to vote during the upcoming polls. His report.
Residents say they will not want to be disenfranchised, but their coming out to vote depends largely on the security provided in order not to endanger their lives. Elections? Are you referring to the election we have been hearing about in the media? I don't know anything about that. We are being governed by terrorists. Elections in this village depends on the security provided before, during and after the elections. But for now, I cannot tell. According to these residents, 2 out of 3 of people in these communities have fled to safer places and have never seen any politician coming around to campaign. We are all ready to vote on election days. But let me tell you, the safety of all stakeholders must be the watchword, because no one can guarantee that except God. Just 10 minutes after leaving Sawayawa and Kadage villages in Kurifi local government area, 30 bandits armed with AK-47 rifles riding on motorcycles reportedly attacked the community. However, despite these security concerns, the electoral umpire is optimistic that elections will be held.
I would like to confirm and to reassure the public that elections will hold in all local government areas, in all registration areas and polling units in Katsina State, regardless of security challenges that we are having in some places. So the public should be confident in themselves and in the commission that election will hold. Nothing is too far as for conducting election in all areas.
Though eligible voters in the insecurity-prone communities of Katsina State are hopeful that elections are held peacefully, the state of uncertainty remains. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And ahead of the 2023 general elections, 13 governorship candidates on Wednesday signed a peace accord in Gombe State. 14 governorship candidates, including the incumbent governor Inwaya Haya of the APC, are contesting the March 2023 governorship election in the state. Governorship candidate of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, Muhammad Bardi, was absent when the 13 candidates signed the peace accord. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
The resident electoral commissioner in Gombe State, who urged candidates to focus on issue-based campaign, pointed out that the commission is committed to conduct a peaceful, free and fair election in the state.
The conduct of credible elections is our collective responsibility, and our actions or inactions can either make or mar the exercise. To this end, I call on you today to make a consensuous effort at ensuring that the peace we have enjoyed in this state is sustained over the election period and beyond.
Governorship candidates of political parties, including the incumbent Governor Inwaya Haya of the APC, signed the peace accord, although some candidates expressed mixed feelings on the readiness of INEC and security agencies in the state to deliver an acceptable exercise.
As the governor and the chief security officer and a contestant, you see, elections itself will not hold in an atmosphere of rancor and skirmishes. And we are after peace and security. Nothing will go until there is peace and there is security in the country.
There are so many things that are happening. Some of these things that we sign are already violated, and we don't have a voice to say it out. And you see another party, they keep taking it away from, challenging our supporters and all that.
It's left for INEC to oversee that this peace accord is being implemented. But for now, I don't know why INEC is pretending that she doesn't know.
However, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its governorship candidate Muhammad Barre declined to sign the peace accord over what it termed repeated attacks on its candidate.
Still with us on Trust TV News Update. Still ahead. We'll show you what role parents can play against the menace of Al-Majri. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
Nigeria na we country, APC not the party, now one man be a choice.
At last, the elections are here. Let's turn out en masse on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria for a renewed hope and a better Nigeria. Vote APC, the party that shows a broom.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's recap our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari orders circulation of old 200 naira notes till April 10th. And residents in Katsina bandit invested communities express uncertainties on forthcoming elections. Now moving on to other news. The Federal Executive Council has approved the electronic cargo tracking system to aid the elimination of oil theft in the country. Maazu Sambo, the Minister of Transportation, disclosed this on Wednesday while briefing State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Aso Rock Villa. Sambo underlined that the tracking system intrinsically ensures the elimination of loopholes in border operations and provides a boost to the federal government's revenue in form of duties. According to him, 26 African countries are already implementing the tracking system, which will equally tackle declaration at ports, secure imports and exports, and provide transparency in cargo invoicing and declarations.
Presenting two council memoranda today in council. One of them was turned down for additional information, and one of them scaled through approval. And that is the one that has to do with the electronic cargo tracking note. Council considered our submission to put in place for Nigeria, like indeed is in place in so many, about 26 other African countries, an electronic cargo tracking note scheme in order to, among other things, take care of under declaration at ports, secure our imports and exports, provide transparency in cargo invoicing and declarations. Some of the benefits of the electronic cargo tracking note, which has been implemented among, like I said, many countries, including our neighbors, Ghana, Senegal, Benin Republic, and Togo, have all recorded tremendous improvement in the management of trade across borders.
And religious, community leaders and other stakeholders in Kaduna society believe that taking Al-Majiri and other vulnerable children off the street is not the responsibility of government alone, but parents and the community have roles to play. They believe that out-of-school children in northern Nigeria is a social menace that needs to be addressed for socio-economic development of the region. The report.
Children roaming the street without proper care and education is common sight in many northern cities. Despite intervention by government at different levels, yet the issue of Al-Majiri and older vulnerable children is still persisting. Teachers from Islamia schools and community leaders said the meeting will further assist in taking such children off the street.
It has reduced non-school dropout. It has reduced non-school attendance. It has made up the parent to know the value of education. It has made up the community that they have all the little one they have, they can contribute to support the goodness of the children in the community.
And by telling them that they are part of the society and they can do better because their parents neglect them or they are hawkers on the street does not give them right to see themselves as less people or people without advantage or people that don't have opportunity, but they will seize this opportunity to do better and show people that they are equal.
The representative from the Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Social Investment reiterates government commitment to address the risk such children are exposed to in northern Nigeria and in the country at large.
Engage key stakeholders, including the parents, to show them the importance of having these children go and access this learning. So, and that is what we have been encouraging them to do. Is that there are many factors that lead these children to be on the street. Yes, the parents are to be admonished not to allow their children to roam around, but there are many factors that that contribute to this, and one of it is parental guide, and most of them have never been into the four walls of classroom. And the idea is that you just don't take kids off the street and take them to school. So you have to introduce them to some form of learning.
Vulnerable children who lack social protection and luxury of basic formal education but roaming the street could be used against the society if they are neglected by the government and the society. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Now for a look at the foreign scene, where a military court in Indonesia's restive Papua region has jailed 4 soldiers for their roles in the brutal murder and mutilation of 4 civilians. The court in the provincial capital, Jayapura, found the 4 guilty of premeditated murder on Wednesday for the killing of the 4 men who had tried to buy weapons from the soldiers in August 2022. 2 of the 4 soldiers were sentenced to life in prison, a third received a 20-year sentence, and the 4th was jailed for 15 years. The 4 who appeared in court wearing military uniforms were also fired from their positions in the Indonesian military. On Thursday, a total of 6 soldiers and 4 civilians were charged with the killings. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.